Okay, hello there, Year 10. As you might be able to see from on the right hand side of this video, I'm in my kitchen. I've balanced my phone on my Nutri blender, and this is going to be my home visualizer. So hopefully we get something out of this, and it doesn't just look ridiculous when I'm balancing my phone on a blender. So today we are going to look at how to answer this 4-mark question. We've learned a lot about the crucifixion of Jesus over the last couple of lessons, and I know that we have had some experience of answering a 4-marker before, but I think since lockdown began we've been a little bit out of practice because we haven't been doing so many of those as I would have liked. So today I'm going to take you back through the process of answering a 4-mark influence question, and then you're going to have a go at answering this question specifically. Okay, so to start with, let's just pick apart this statement. I want you to have it in your book, so please pause the video and write this statement down, and then once you've written it, replay the video from where you paused it. So you will always see these words in a 4-mark question in the beliefs paper. You will always see the words explain 2 ways in which a belief in. So you always get that. So it's always explaining, which means point and development. So you need to be 2 sentences per paragraph, and it's always going to be 2 paragraphs. So in total, 4 sentences, 4 marks, should take about 4 minutes. Explain 2 ways in which a belief in, and then you're always going to have a certain belief. For example, the crucifixion of Jesus, okay? And you're always going to see this last bit here, influences Christians today. Now remember, influences, we are breaking them down into 2 categories, either actions, things religious believers do, or emotions, things religious believers feel. So 2 ways specifically that the belief in this event either causes Christians to do things or feel things, and you have to link these influences to this specific belief and this specific event. If you give one, either action or emotion, you give one correct influence, that's 1 mark. If you then link that influence to that belief, for example, they feel a certain way because of something that happened during Jesus' crucifixion, that's 2 marks. Do that twice, that's 4 marks. Okay, so that is all you are doing in the influences questions. And you can start your sentences largely the same for every single 4-marker you get, and then all you need to do is change the influence that you give and change the belief that you're talking about, but the sentence starters largely remain the same. So you would start your first sentence by saying 1 influence is. Okay, we're not going to waste time by doing loads and loads of waffle there by saying one way that a belief in blah 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 influences blah blah blah, but just say 1 influences. Okay, nice and simple. We've only got 4 minutes. The exam isn't very long. You've not got a lot of time, and you want to save your time for the longer questions later. So 1 influence is will suffice. This is because will also suffice for the second question, for the second sentence. And you would do this twice. So you would say in your second paragraph, another influence is. And then again, this is because. Now, some people like to go for beliefs first and then influences. So Christians believe this about the crucifixion and this influences them in this way. That's fine. You can absolutely do that. That's okay. The only reason I teach you to do influence first before belief is because as somebody who's been an examiner for AQA, I know that the marks they give out only start being given out once you mention an influence. So you don't get any marks for just talking about Christian beliefs. You only get marks once you start talking about influences. So you may as well mention an influence to begin with, because that's when you start getting your marks. Otherwise you're writing an entire paragraph of stuff that only only get to Mark when you mention the influence at the end, and then they have to go back to the beginning and rewrite the paragraph to reread it to mark it again. So I would always say influence first, because that's where your marks come from, and then back up the influence with a reason from the belief. Again, another influence, back it up with a belief. That's what I would do, and that's where you get, in my experience, the most marks. So, if we have a look to begin with, it's always nice to have an idea of some key influences that Christians feel in general, and then you can link it specifically to the crucifixion of Jesus. Have a think about some of the key influences that you often have within religion. So things Christians do, for example, praying, worshipping, going to church, telling others about Jesus, giving money to the poor. Not all of those link to the crucifixion of Jesus, but a couple of them do, and I want you to work out which ones. Emotions, again, you've got common emotions such as hope, fear, love, comfort, joy, thankfulness, etc. Again, some of those relate to the crucifixion of Jesus, not all of them. It's up to you to decide which ones do. So I am going to write one paragraph, and I want you to write a second paragraph. Okay, so this first paragraph that I'm going to write is going to be on the influence of prayer. So one influence is that Christians may pray to Jesus. Okay, so that's my influence. My influence specifically is praying to Jesus. That's got me 1 mark because I have stated one clear influence, but I haven't got 2 marks yet because I have not explained why. What is it about the crucifixion of Jesus that may encourage or influence Christians to pray to him? Well, it's because he died an agonizing death. He suffered, he experienced abandonment when he cried out saying, my God, why have you forsaken me? He experienced severe pain, humiliation, torment, torture, agony, all of these really extreme human emotions, which many of us go through from time to time in our own lives. I know many of us have felt abandoned at times in our lives. Some of us have felt in pain. Some of us have felt humiliated. And so as a Christian, somebody who would be praying to God anyway, a Christian might be specifically influenced to pray to Jesus, the Son of God, as part of the Trinity, when they are feeling a particular emotion that associates with his crucifixion. So if a Christian is feeling abandoned, maybe they're feeling completely rejected and lonely, they might take comfort in the fact that Jesus went through that himself, and therefore they can pray to him to have some kind of guidance, advice, or at the very least, some kind of comfort and peace. Okay, so this is because, and I'm going to think about the best way that I can start this sentence. So one influence that Christians may pray to Jesus, this is because when he was crucified, Jesus experienced humiliation and suffering. I should let a bit more space between this one and the next paragraph. Jesus experienced humiliation and suffering. If Christians feel the same today, they can pray to Jesus for guidance, as he has experienced the same. Remember, one of the big things about Jesus is that he is, I'm going to cross these out because we can rewrite them a bit later on. One of the big things about Jesus is that he is very relatable to Christians, not in the sense of he walked on water and turned bread into food for 5,000 people, but he was 100% human as well as being 100% God. and therefore his humanity is deeply relatable. And as a god, as a divine figure, that's very rare for a divine figure to be somebody who is actually really relatable to religious people, and therefore for Christians it's vital that they understand that kind of humanity of Jesus, and when they are going through human suffering, they can relate to Jesus as a human who suffered with them and for them, and actually at the hands of humans as well. So he's very relatable. So you could write that first paragraph, or you could write another paragraph of your own accord. That's fine. But either way, I want you to go on to a second paragraph as well, and I want you to write another influence is, and this is because. Now, you can take anything here. You could do another action, something different to prayer. You could do an emotion. You could talk about what Christians do to others based on what Jesus did to those who were crucifying him. There's a big hint there. You could do something about the fact that how Christians feel about the crucifixion of Jesus, given that why he was crucified and why that's so important for them. What kind of emotion does that give Christians who are influenced by that today? Either way, your influence must be clear, it must be relevant, and it must be backed up with detail from the crucifixion of Jesus. Have a go at it, send it over to me, and I will have a look at it, and I'll let you know if it gives you 2 marks to add to the 2 that you've already got here. Okay, thanks very much. Bye-bye.